Hey everybody, this is Laura with Busy Bee Farms, and today I am processing some tomatoes. Um, we had the long drought, and then we started getting rain, and now I have tomatoes. This is actually probably, oh goodness, I can't even think how many times now I've processed tomatoes with baskets and baskets of tomatoes. So you see I have 3 of these baskets, and I just cored and cut out bad spots on one of the other baskets over there, and I thought I need to make a video and let you guys know what's going on with all these tomatoes. So I have harvested even more than just these. I have already made some spaghetti sauce, and I have made salsa. I have made enchilada sauce. I have made just diced tomatoes and canned all of those things. I can't remember how many um, jars of each of those things that I have at the moment. But I know at one point I had 8 of those baskets, and I turned all of that into, I think I split that between enchilada sauce and spaghetti sauce, and then I did some salsa, and that was last week. So I have more tomatoes, and what I'm going to do with these tomatoes is I'm going to core them, and then I'm going to blanch them very quickly in some warm water, kind of hot water. I mean, it's not fully boiling, but in some warm water. And I'm going to get the skins off of them. And then after I get the skins off, then I'm going to dice them because I'm most likely going to make salsa out of this batch. I think that's kind of where I am in my rotation. I started with spaghetti sauce and did salsa and enchilada sauce and then diced tomatoes. And so I just did spaghetti sauce, enchilada sauce. So it's time for more salsa because those tend to be the things that we eat the most. So that's what I'm going to make out of my tomatoes. Whenever you're growing your tomatoes, you should always think about what you use most in your pantry that comes from tomatoes and see how you can do that. This is my first year ever making spaghetti sauce, and it has turned out fantastic. I actually really enjoy it better than the store bought. So it tastes a lot better. And the ingredients just tastes better. I really enjoy it, and I think David and the kids have enjoyed it as well. So that's what I'm doing here today. It'll actually probably take me a few days to do this. I have this afternoon and evening in the kitchen, and then I may not get to canning this today, and that's okay. The last time I canned salsa, I got everything diced up, and then I put it in my roaster, and I just kind of let it simmer and cook down and just marry all the seasonings and things together real nicely. And then after it did that, I put it in the refrigerator because I didn't have time to can it. And I think that actually kind of helped with thickening and the seasoning and the taste and all of that. And that's what happened the last time I canned the salsa. I had to put it in the refrigerator overnight because I had some things I had to do the next day, and I wasn't going to be here to be able to can it all. So I did warm it back up, of course, after I brought it out of the refrigerator, and then put it in, kind of warm jars. I don't do a whole lot of hot jars. I know that it says you're supposed to, but I don't. Especially during the summer, it's not that super cold in my house that those jars are going to be so cold. Um, but that's what I'm doing today, and I thought that I would bring you along. Like I said, right now I am getting ready to dice up these tomatoes. Well, not dice them up, but core them and wash them and core them. And yeah, my tomatoes are not pretty. These this year with drought and then with this off and on rain, we've had a lot of cracking with our tomatoes, but I cut all the bad spots out, and anything that's just kind of yucky. I, of course, give to the chickens, but I'm still using what I can. There is a couple green tomatoes that have fallen off. That one over there looks like it'll probably turn pretty soon. The other one, it'll take some time, but it will eventually turn here in the house as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I've been over here kind of at the sink. I have my setup. I usually put my tomatoes here and I wash them and I use my little coring tool and then cut them up. That's the chicken bucket. And then here are my tomatoes that need to be blanched. And then we'll just put these in some warm water, and then the skins will just peel off, get ready to peel off. And you take them from the hot water and you put them into cold water, and it stops the cooking, of course. And then the skins peel off really easy. And so over here, I'm going to have my water. I'm going to get that turned on. And then this will be cold water, and then this will be for the skins that come off. So that's kind of my setup, and I am going to get going, washing and coring these tomatoes. Okay, so I am going to wash these off, and then just kind of use my little coring tool and get the core out. And then this part I will just cut out. You know, I know it's still taking a good bit of the tomato, but I'd rather have a little bit of tomato than to chunk this whole entire tomato. Because this year, like I said, just about every tomato has had some kind of crack in them and split with the weather. I'm just thankful that I have tomatoes, because it was not looking too promising with the drought and lack of rain and having to hand water, and it just was not certain at all if I was going to have any tomatoes. And I have been very, very blessed to have the big crop of tomatoes that we have this year. This is probably about like I did a couple years ago. Because if you have watched our channel, you know last year the tomatoes did not do well at all. Probably because we didn't tend to them the way that we should. This year, I have been in the garden just about every day, especially as these were growing and trying to just kind of grow their leaves and get bigger so that they could have set fruit. I was down there just about every day, keeping an eye on things and feeding with fish emulsion and things like that to help them grow. So I have a feeling that's probably one of the big factors in that these did so well. And this is one of the Amish paste tomatoes, so it's more oblong than round. It'll have less water and be just more meaty of a tomato. And it, you know, when it comes to salsas and things like that, I just take whatever tomato I can get. Because a tomato to me is a tomato. We had some of the spaghetti sauce last night, the spaghetti and meatballs, and that turned out really good. I did not bring you guys along, but I just finished a batch of broth. It had been cooking for a couple of days, and this morning I strained everything, and I have it sitting in the refrigerator. It cooled kind of down to room temperature, and it's going to cool in the refrigerator so that I can skim off some of that fat and things that you don't want to be in your pressure pan. when you do it. And so this weekend I will be pressure canning that, and then probably starting another batch of broth. So when we did our meat chickens, we didn't save the carcasses this time because it tends to be so many and we don't really have a good adequate place to store them. So we gave those to the pigs that are at our friend's house. So then what I do use though is when I cook with chicken that has bones in it, like the thighs and the legs and things like that, and I'm shredding the chicken off the bone, I will save the bones and whatever bits of chicken that may have been left on that, and I'll put it in the freezer. And so I hang on to that, and when I get enough, then I can make some broth out of it. And I have been saving these bones for a while, and my freezers were getting kind of full with it. So I decided to go ahead and do that. And this roaster over here was full. And I actually still have some bones left over that I didn't have enough space for in the pot. So I have enough to make another batch. But it just takes a couple of days to try to cook all that down and get all the minerals out of the bones and things that I need to process these tomatoes. And so I'm going to use this roaster now for salsa, so that I can use up these tomatoes before they go bad. So that is the plan. But hopefully maybe this next round I can bring you along for the broth. It smelled amazing. This is the second time that I've made broth. The first time I made it, I made the broth in my slow cooker. And, I mean, it did great. I have made broth in the Instapot, and that did good too. I just kind of wanted to try that and see how that worked. But because I had so many bones and things like that, the roaster over here was the easiest way to go ahead and just get all that done. And then we'll have all of that broth for soups and rice and things like that this fall and winter. So I am going to finish getting all these tomatoes up, and then when I start the process of blanching them and getting the skins off, I will bring you along. Okay, so here are all those tomatoes, and they are cored, bad spots out, all of those things. And then here's my water. It's actually getting ready to start boiling, so I'm going to cut it back just a little bit. And then I've got my bowl of cold water. Sometimes along the way when I'm doing this, if I've got a lot, then I will add some ice to this to make it really, really cold. But it works just as fine if I don't. So, and then I've got my roaster pan over here, and this is actually probably what I will put the tomatoes in, since I'm almost out of bowls with all the broth. And I've already got one bowl. This actually is a bowl that I did a couple of days ago, and it's full of diced tomatoes, so it's ready to go in my roaster when I get these others done. So just for a bowl purpose, I'm going to just use my roasting pan. I'm going to try to get y'all set somewhere, maybe, that you'll be able to see what I'm doing, maybe. So I have just a little basket that I use to kind of pick them in. I put them in, take them out, whichever I choose to do, but usually I'll just drop them in myself. The water ain't that bad. So I put these in here. They don't take very long. Um, a lot of times I'll just kind of start waiting to see, they'll start cracking a little bit along the peel, the skin. Or if I think it's about ready, I'll pick it up and I will just feel the skin and see if it feels like it's mushy moving, to peel off. And then I know that it's ready. So I'm going to just put a few in here as I go. And I totally could just not do this and then kind of immersion blend, I guess, if I wanted to make my salsa just kind of more thin. But we like a chunkier salsa, so I like to be able to do that. Now, with my spaghetti sauce that I did not take the skins off. I took the tomatoes just like this and put them in my roaster, and I threw peppers in, I threw zucchini in, onions in, a bunch of seasonings. I let it kind of cook down a little bit, and then I took my immersion blender and then I just blended everything up, and it did great. It blended the skins. It didn't really totally blend up the seeds, so if that's something that may bother you, then you may have to find another blender that can emulsify that more for you. But we had some, we took the spaghetti sauce in ground meat, and you can't tell a difference. So, all right, so these are ready. You can peel the skin off of it. I'm going to stick it over here in the cold water. And you can tell, I don't know if you can see or not, but it's starting to crack right there. So I kind of know that it's ready. And it moves pretty quick once your water gets warm. It doesn't take much to get them peeled. And then once they are over here in the cold water, you can see right here the peels just come right off. And then I will stick this tomato over here in my roaster pan. There's another peel, just slides right off. You can also, I know that some people do this as well. I tried this at first, but then I kind of just got a little lazy with it, so I prefer to do it this way instead. But some folks will take their tomatoes right out of the garden, and if they have a big batch of them, they'll just put them in the freezer and freeze the tomatoes until they can get ready to process them. And when you take them out of the freezer, as they're thawing, the skins will just come right off. So you could avoid this process if you put your tomatoes in the freezer. Like I said, I did that one year because we had so many coming in. I was new to canning and making salsa. I was still working, and I didn't have a lot of extra free time. And so I did that. And then I found that I kind of forgot about them a little bit, and then the fall and winter came, and it just was a different season. And so I personally like to just, as they come in, try to process them and get them put up so that I don't have all that in my freezer, because we still have an equally busy winter, where some people may not have a busy winter, and they have days where they can remember their tomatoes are in there and get them out and process them and things like that. But for me, I would much rather process and take care of them as they go. So see the little cracking in there? So that is ready. Take these out. doesn't take long at all. And the sweet little boy I take care of, he loves to help me with this process. He went home early today, so he's not here, but he's my peeler. I get him through this process, and then he likes to play in the water over here and peel the tomatoes and play. So that's what he likes to do. Sometimes I have to encourage him to move a little faster because I think he just enjoys playing in the water. But he is such a big help. All right. So I am going to finish processing these, and then I will let you see what we do next. All right, so I have all of these tomatoes peeled and ready to dice up, and Olivia is home now to help me. So she is running the chopper. So I'm just kind of slicing up these tomatoes and then putting them in the chopper. This is just a Vidalia Chop Wizard that I've had for several years, and I use it for tomatoes and for my peppers and onions when I do salsa. And so this is kind of what they look like. They are little just cubes diced up there. And so that is what we are doing. I'm going to set you up and you can watch this just a little bit. And then let's see.
I want to back it up a little bit. Can you even see me?
I was trying to get it to where we can see the chopper in action. How about that? There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just slice them up. Now, when I am...
Now I'm done got my hands nasty, let me pick it up.
Here you go. And so, Olivia's job is usually the little boy that I take care of, his job. But he went home early, like I said, and he loves the part to just chop the tomatoes. He gets a little sidetracked, though.
And then we have to do it, and then he gets mad.
But he's a helper, and he's learning. I kind of just cut them up into little slices, and that just kind of helps to dice them a little more finely, like they should be.
It's very juicy.
Yes, there's always a lot of juice with slicing tomatoes.
Did you show him about the elderberry syrup?
Well, you know what, y'all? I told y'all that I made some broth, but yesterday, I did forget to tell you about this part. I made some elderberry syrup because it's getting that time of year where there's colds and things, and so
I try to prevent that.
yeah. Olivia and I are usually the ones mostly that drink the syrup. We do like a tablespoon a day, and so I made some yesterday. It's pretty basic. Dried elderberries, cinnamon, water. Kind of cook that down a little bit, and then after it cools, add in your raw honey, and then put it in the refrigerator. Pretty easy, and it's quite tasty.
It smells pretty good whenever it's cooked too. Cooking. It smells like chocolate or something.
Olivia always says it smells like chocolate.
Trying to get most of it out.
Alright, so there's 2 containers full there.
Going as
Alright.
fast as I can.
Yep,
I'm
you're
very
doing
slow.
great. Okay, so we're just going to continue to chop up these tomatoes, and then we will move on to the next part. All right, everybody. So, since I diced up all the tomatoes, I now have diced up bell peppers and onions and hot peppers. I used jalapenos, a few cayennes, and serrano peppers. Those were the 3 peppers that I used in this. But this batch right here, I actually have tripled it. So that's why it is such a big batch. I think it was about close to 30 cups of tomatoes and close to 15 cups of bell peppers and 10 to 12 of onions and a little bit of hot peppers. I didn't do a whole lot of hot peppers. I think there's like maybe 2.5, 3 cups of hot peppers in here. We still have a lot of hot salsa from last year, so I'm not trying to make a super hot salsa. So this is in my roaster. And what's next is adding the seasonings. So I'm going to get this loaded in my roaster oven and then get all my seasonings together so I can let you know what we're doing. Okay, so we have the salsa here in the roaster, and I'm about to add all the seasonings inside. And I just wanted to show you that this is the book that I use, the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. This is the one that I have this recipe out of. It is the zesty salsa recipe, and the only thing that I do a little bit different is I add a little bit of sugar and I add some cumin. So that's what I do, just a little bit different than the specific recipe. So that is what I'm going to do. And like I said, it's almost a full triple batch here. So I'm going to have to kind of increase some of those seasonings and things like that with what I use. So we're going to put in some apple cider vinegar. And I'm going to put in a couple of cups here. And then, let's see, it calls for garlic. So I'm just using from the store minced garlic. You can use fresh garlic, you can use whatever is convenient for you, but this is what I am using today. Let's see, it calls for about 3 cloves per batch. So we will put in, this is a tablespoon and that I'm using, and I'll probably do just 3 tablespoons. I'm just kind of estimating. And let's see, then we need cilantro. Let me clean out my spoon, my measuring spoon. Now my cilantro that I have, I might just have enough because it calls about 2 tablespoons per batch. And so I may, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. And then I have just a little bit from last year when I grew it, so I'm just gonna add that in there too. But that's all I have, so we're just gonna make that work. I didn't realize I was out when I started this, and I really didn't realize I was going to have enough to do a triple batch either. So It should still taste okay. All right, and then salt. Let me get my salt. And you can use canning salt, pink Himalayan salt, any kind of salt, but not iodized salt. You don't want that in any of the canning that you do. So that's what I have here is just non-iodized salt. And let's see, they call for a tablespoon per batch. So there's one. There's two. Close to three. All right, and then we're gonna add our cumin. Let's see, it's 1.5 teaspoons per batch is what I did originally. So I will be doing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So about a tablespoon, because there's 5 teaspoons in a tablespoon. And, you know, cumin is really good, so I tend to add a little bit more anyway, just to taste. And then we'll be doing some sugar. Hey, Matthew.
Hey.
What's that, man?
Oh, when you gonna be ready to go do Max's house?
In just a little bit. After I get all of this, all these seasonings in, then all I have to do is turn this roaster on and kind of let it simmer.
Okay. I'm gonna go get food ready.
Okay. All right, and let me get my sugar.
1, 2, 3. You got his medicine.
Okay. All right, so about a quarter cup of sugar is what I add to each batch. And so I'm gonna do, this is a 1/2 cup. It just kind of takes some of the acidity out and that kind of thing. So I'll just add a little bit to it.
Hello, people.
So there should be enough sugar there for the 3 batches.
Can I stir it?
You can stir it. And then I'm just going to turn my roaster on to 250. And I'm going to let it just kind of simmer together. I'll taste it and see if it needs any additional seasonings or things like that here in a little while.
You want it?
Yep.
There you go. Have fun.
So that's all I'm going to do today with this salsa because it's almost 7 o'clock tonight. And I'm going to be going to work with David tomorrow, so I'm not even going to be here tomorrow to can it. So, totally okay. I'm going to let it simmer, cook it down. Like I said earlier in the video, last time I did this, I actually let it sit in the refrigerator overnight, and it just kind of helped with the flavor and so forth. And then I warmed it up when I was ready to can it. As long as I did that within a couple of days, it's going to be totally fine. So that's probably what will happen. I'll probably have a big canning day this weekend. I've got all that broth to can, and I have all the salsa to can, and we're going to have a lot more tomatoes. When I went down to the garden to get all my hot peppers and to get my sweet peppers, there's so many tomatoes still to pick. So I'm going to be picking those this evening as well, just so that they don't split, no bugs get to them and things like that, and we can preserve them into something yummy for this winter. So that's what's going on, and I will meet you guys back here when I'm ready to can this. All right, everybody, it is the next day, and I actually didn't go to work with David today because we have so much here to process and put up. So I stayed home, and I have been working. I let the salsa kind of simmer overnight, and you can tell it's kind of cooked down a good bit. It was about right there, and so it's about thick enough that I will be canning it pretty soon. And one thing I wanted to say too is that after it starts cooking down, take a taste test and just make sure that it's where you want it to be. When I taste tested this one, it was a little spicier than I wanted it to be. So, and it needed a little more cilantro, so I had to run to the store and actually get some more cilantro. And so I ended up adding some more tomatoes and things like that to kind of help even out the spice, because it was a little spicy. Now that I've added more tomatoes, the cumin, I've actually added some more cumin and more cilantro just to taste. It's where it needs to be. So that is about there for me to can. You can kind of see that. And what I'll do is what juice is kind of left over, I will can that too. And I can just add some of that juice to any kind of soups or chilies or anything else that I need, like a tomato juice with lots of flavor. So that's where that is. The second thing that I have going is my broth, and this is a pressure canner that I got used. It is a Miromatic. I don't have like an all-American super fabulous canner, but this one works. I can close it. It seals every time. It doesn't take all day long to build up pressure or anything like that because of a faulty seal. It works. So there are 7 jars of broth, chicken bone broth in there. I had 2 other cans left that I need to probably pressure can at some point as well. So I will do that too. So I've done that. And then I also made a really big garden harvest today. I didn't get to go last night like I had mentioned, so I went today. I have this sink full of tomatoes, and then I also have probably about 4 more baskets, just the smaller baskets of tomatoes outside that I have not brought in yet. I'd really like to get my salsa in the cans and then bring in tomatoes so that I can make some more spaghetti sauce is what I will probably do. While I was also in the garden, I got all of these green beans to go with the green beans I picked a couple of days ago. All of these cayennes, more cherry tomatoes, and look at my beautiful sunflowers. I picked some of those. Olivia loves sunflowers. First year we've really grown sunflowers that some are real big, some are small, but they're so pretty. I had one sunflower that grew really, really tall, and then the wind kind of blew it over, but it's still in the ground. It kind of uprooted it a little bit, but it's still in the ground. So it's still growing and producing sunflowers. So I just took a few cuttings off of that one, and the other one, I think, which is Autumn Beauty. I can't remember. And so that's what's happening today, y'all, that we have so much coming in from the garden. I feel very blessed to have all of this given the weather, the season of summer that we have had. So that is where we are right now. I'm going to kind of get things together so we can jar up that salsa here soon. I got to get my jars ready and everything, but wanted to let you know where we were.